It updated fine. Oh,
Sorry.
it finally updated my
You Zoom?
Zoom.
Did it?
So now it's like AI companion,
Yeah.
react, chat, participants,
La di
leave. And it's
da.
like the little guy's like walking out the red door.
I know.
La di
So fancy. Um, okay. Um, yeah, are we good? Shall we
hmm
kick into
hmm
it?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Okay, I'm gonna start recording. Okay, start recording in three, two, one, go. Hello, and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your jubilant, transcendent hosts. Joining me as always is our other jubilant and transcendent host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
You almost fluffed that.
I I was like I 2 words in, and
Is
I
your
was
heart
like,
racing?
yeah, it really was. I was like, oh man, the pressure from last time from fucking it up.
Which I was editing and I was
Uh-huh.
like laughing my ass off because I don't know what fluff means when
Oh
you're like
yeah,
I fluffed it up or whatever.
yeah.
It just
I think I
means
said,
like
yeah, I fluffed it. I think is what I said.
I
I
fluffed
fluffed
it.
it. Yeah, I like.
So that means like messed it up. But
I
why? Like to fluff, what
that's a
does that
good.
mean?
That is it. That is an excellent question that I definitely know the answer to, and I'm not looking it
Uh-huh.
up as we speak.
No, just like look in the recesses of your
Yeah, I'm
mind
just
garden.
scanning through my mind.
Yes.
Uh,
So
I don't know the origin of it, but it's
okay.
just to feel something or do it badly is
Huh.
what I've got here. Yeah.
Huh.
Like whatever you think of, if I was to say fluffed, what would you think?
I don't know, like
Okay.
here to fluff means like it doesn't, maybe I'm wrong and I'm not hip to you know, the
Hmm.
language of the people, but generally it just means, oh, there's a hummingbird. Sorry,
Ooh,
they're following me.
how enchanting.
I know. One, I was like standing at the kitchen window. He's like looking at me. I was standing at the kitchen window the other day, and one like,
Hmm.
and we have leads. So in Southern California, sorry, I'm like all over the place
No, it's
today.
good.
We have these sun reflecting screens on
Hmm.
our windows, and basically like any window needs to have some sort of reflective surface to get, so
Yeah,
otherwise like your entire house is
you're an
bleached.
oven. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like literally like you have a carpet that will bleach out and
Wow.
like yeah. You'll see.
Oh, I understand.
Used
Okay.
to have like a red umbrella that went over the red chairs, and now it's like mm, pinkish.
Wow. So intense.
Anyways, but yeah, it flew up, and I don't know if it could see me or not, but like they're following me.
Love it.
Like
Well,
in
I mean, like,
Fleabag, where the foxes are chasing the
oh
hot
yeah.
priest. Yeah,
Hmm.
same. Just for
Uh,
me, it's hummingbirds.
I have talked in the past. I don't know whether in the podcast that you are kind of like a cross between Snow White and Ace Ventura anyway. So this all
Kind of.
kind
It's
of
true. It's
right. If
true.
they met and fell in love and had a baby,
Right?
Beth would be that baby. Hey, it's a good combo, right?
I know. Now I'm working on trying to tame a crow. Did I tell you this?
To do what?
We have like a murder of crows that hangs
Oh,
out in our yeah, and I'm so like I know people who don't care at all about making friends with animals, right? And
sure.
they're like, this crow keeps like leaving shiny things at my doorstep. And I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Like, I want that. So I'm like trying to figure out how to befriend them other
Yeah, I like it.
than giving
Okay.
them a pool to drink out of when it's 100 degrees.
Love
So
it.
yeah, the crack is I haven't slept
Hmm.
in 3 days and we
Yeah.
had to reschedule because I had a migraine. Today is my son's birthday.
Hmm.
So he turns whatever age, but we're going to see Deadpool and Wolverine finally.
Nice. I
And
love
he's dressing up as Wolverine.
it. I have to say this.
I know.
Uh, yeah, I that's awesome. I love it.
But like the original Wolverine with
Sure.
like the yellow outfit
Yeah.
with the
I'm
claws.
no, that's not I won't get into my thoughts on Wolverine, but like
Okay.
I there's a yellow and brown costume that's also represented in that movie that's my favorite sort of Wolverine costume of all time. So I really have a kind of a a negative opinion of the yellow and blue one. I don't mind it. I just love other ones so much. But yeah, just what you fans are tuning in for, Andy's Wolverine costume thoughts. I should also say, and again, just to set you up for this, because Beth is also on a kind of like a woolly energy, so am I. I
Uh,
have, and one of the things that kind of inspired the episode this week was, I'll talk about it briefly, just as my crack, which is that, um, I went to a festival this weekend. It was what inspired this episode. It was fantastic. I loved it. I love kind of spending time in that sort of space. I really, that they don't always hit, but like I think more often than not, they really kind of work for me. And I just kind of love spending time in that space for a few days. And then, coming back down to earth with a crunch afterwards is kind of tough sometimes.
it
And
is.
I have slept poorly the past few nights. I think because my body's kind of recovering from, food and booze and, uh,
Being on
bleed,
island time.
being an island time, yeah. And other unstated things. So yeah, but it was fantastic. It was a really lovely weekend. I got to spend some time with
Good.
some friends that I hadn't seen in a while, and she had another friend of hers who I'd only met briefly before, and she was lovely, really, and we got on really well. And I think like it sort of lends itself, and we will get into this later. Like I find like the experience of meeting people at a festival lends you to kind of get past the kind of small talk more quickly and get into like deeper talk and not necessarily really heavy shit, but just actual proper conversation. And that
Hmm.
works so much better for me, because I just really have such limited patience for small talk.
I hate small talk.
Yeah, it's
I
the
hate
worst.
it. I hate 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 it.
Yeah, it's just
It's just like it's a waste of everyone's
yeah.
time.
And it's like, oh, is it sunny today? Holy shit, I had never noticed that. Wow, yeah, looking at the sky now, it's weird that you mentioned that. So yeah, sorry. That's my strong reaction to small talk.
Hmm. Yeah, like my dad would not
He has no time for it.
participate.
Oh,
No,
love him
no. Yeah,
for
I
reals.
know.
It's like
So
and it felt arrogant to me but I felt seen whenever I heard them talk. It was in Oppenheimer and they were talking about um the lady that he married, who was played by Emily Blunt. I can't remember her name.
Kitty,
Yeah, Kitty something, yeah. And they
Kitty
talk about,
Oppenheimer.
yeah, Kitty Oppenheimer. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, nailed it.
Sorry, I know my
Um,
history.
you do, clever. And how she hated small talk. All she was interested in was big talk. And I was like, I quite like that. I quite like
Yeah.
that conceptually. Sounds a bit arrogant, but I that sort of spoke to me, I must say.
And I've had some festival experiences that like there have been rules that have been set down so that you like can't really small talk,
Yeah.
which is
Oh, interesting.
hmm
Okay. All right. Okay. Hey, look.
hmm.
Let's save the goods for now. If we've got any
Cool.
other
Sorry.
business, before we get into this, do you have any what's occurring?
I don't.
Okay, I have a just because I'm sure people are crying
Yes.
so badly. So I have I
Ooh.
Andy's down with the streets in
Yes.
memoriam.
In memoriam.
Yeah, we remember our fallen heroes. Because I feel like this is a particularly old one, but it's one that always has so much meaning for me because I just love it. Because I think
Mm,
that okay, the word is yeet.
yeet.
Yeet. You know yeet?
Yeet. No.
Okay,
Okay, can I guess?
sure.
Yeet. No,
I,
no, not gonna guess because it's dirty.
it's not dirty. It is.
Okay.
I think it is in terms of like what the word
Maybe it's because it
sounds
rhymes
like.
with skeet.
Yes, I think that's true. I think
Sorry.
with what the word sounds like, really kind of really closely connects with what it actually is. So if I was to yeet something, what
Oh,
would I
eat?
get? No, yeet. No.
I don't know.
Okay, okay. It is it's kind of throw. So if I was to throw something at you, I would yeet it at you. Yeah.
Yeet?
Yeet.
It
Yeah.
would take me 10 years to guess that.
I just like the sound when connected to the movement. If you I just imagine throwing something and it making a yeet noise, this is maybe more speaks to my brain than anything.
Do you
But
have
yeah,
sound effects that go on in your brain?
yeah, absolutely, I do. Yeah, not all of them
That's
are
cool.
entirely pleasant, but yeah, definitely. And I think there was a video game that I played a number of years ago that every time they threw like a grenade or whatever, they went yeet. And so it's just been so strongly connected with that in my
Gotcha.
mind. But yeah, yeet. So to throw something, but you know how the kids do it, right?
Right, right. Hey, why don't you eat me that sack of chips?
Yeah. I think I think if you were to yeet, a sack of chips at somebody, for example, you would probably be aiming for their
I was
head
just
and you'd be
speaking
doing it with force.
Irish. Did
You
you
were
hear that?
What did you say?
So I would say if I was speaking USA American,
Sure,
I would say I'm gonna throw you a bag of chips.
sure. But
But I just said sack of French fries to you.
if wow, okay. Is forming a bridge across the ocean between our two
That's right.
nations. I
That's
love
right.
it.
Hand
So yeah,
across the ocean.
hands across not America,
Not
America and the UK.
America.
Um, but yeah, so and it's quite an old one now. I think it's probably got 10 years on it. Yeet, and that's why it's in memoriam because it's hardly ever used anymore. But like for me, that's Andy's prime time to start using the word when it's so deeply uncool that
Yeah.
nobody's used it in 2 years.
Yeah.
That's Andy's time to shine, you know. So I've got
That's
to
right.
start
That's right.
eating things at people left, right, and center.
I'm realizing I'm like 4 or 5 years behind everyone in all things.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
occasionally I'll be like, "Hey Andy, have you watched this thing or read this thing?" And you'll be like, "Yeah." And then I like look at when it came out. It was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm like,
but
eh.
that's fine. Do you know what I mean? I only do that because I got nothing else going on. Well, yeah, I maybe just prioritize the wrong things. Maybe that's what I'm
No,
doing.
no, no, no.
But yeah, so that's Andy's down with the streets in memoriam. Yeet. I've got a few
Yeet.
others locked and loaded, but I'm gonna like sprinkle them over the next sort of few weeks. So just tune
Okay.
in for those folks.
Okay. You heard it here. Tune in.
Can't wait.
I would never have guessed that though. Yeet. I
I
love like the root of something, right? Like
Yeah,
what, where and how.
yeah, how it all
And
breaks down.
you're well, and like so I'm gonna talk about this with Joy, but I've been like obsessed over the show that came out in like 2020. So again, I'm 4 years before 4 years behind. But just like listening to the characters talk to each other and like the it's so interesting. I guess I don't really watch UK shows very
Yeah,
often, and I really need to because the humor is there.
yeah,
It's witty as all fucking shit.
yeah.
Like we just don't like our writers don't write stuff like that.
I yeah, I think there are some American
That's why
shows
we
like that.
steal things like The Office and then make it
Yeah,
that's funny.
I think there is definitely American stuff like that, but I think it's hard. I mean, but I would also say that there is plenty of like mainstream trash in the UK as well. You would just be
Okay.
like, this is bullshit.
Okay.
Fleabag, I think was a high watermark. If you enjoy that, there's definitely other shows.
It
There's a
was
sh
so good.
Yeah,
It was so
it's great.
good. And it
There's
was only 2 seasons, but
Yeah,
just like the guinea pig and like the character of the priest. And now I'm obsessed with Andrew Scott again,
yeah.
4 years late. I know,
Eh,
5 years late.
and I think as well, and I think what it threads really well is this is Fleabag. Do we mention the name in case people hadn't? So
Sorry,
it's
yeah. I
the
was
show is
texting
Fleabag we're
Andy.
talking about,
Yes.
yeah. Um, there's another what I think Fleabag does really well. It threads kind of the emotional component and the kind of comedy really well, and it really kind of
Hmm.
really kind of deals with that in a really kind of fantastic way. There's another show that came out a few years after that. That is, I think, even more hard hitting in terms of the emotional side of it, but also
Are you going to
genuinely
say normal
funny.
people?
No, I'm going to
Okay.
say I May Destroy You.
Ooh, I'm writing this down.
It's
I'm like literally because Fleabag was so good. I'm on Reddit trying to be like, what other shows? And like, what's it called? What did you just say? My
I May
brain.
Destroy You.
I may. Okay. So what I loved about Fleabag
Uh-huh.
was the way that she broke the fourth wall, and then when there was a character that like meshed with her so well that he was then able to break the fourth wall a
Yeah,
little bit. That just like I've never seen that happen
yeah,
before in anything like theater, movies, I've never seen that. And it was just like it I like kept going back and like rewinding to this part where like he turns around and like looks right at you, like the
yeah,
watcher, the audience, and I was like, this is blowing my fucking mind. It was so well written. And like
yeah.
she steals this torso from her evil stepmother, and like the way that that plays its way through both seasons and keeps it reappearing. It's just like small things like that, like continuity of humor
Yeah.
and not letting a thread drop at all and like just continuing to weave it in. I wish I could like
I,
live my life that cleverly.
I think there definitely is well, I mean, maybe not resurgence, but I mean, I feel like there's like an undercurrent of that, like in the UK of those sorts of shows, with like people really kind of doing something
It's
quite
like
different.
art.
Yeah.
It's art. And it's yeah, it's inspiring.
I think certainly the BBC is quite a good because of the nature of how it works is quite a good environment for that, and you tend to get because I May Destroy You is also a BBC show.
Okay.
But yeah, I've definitely got more recommendations for you, but we'll so we'll get into our topic.
Yeah. And then we
Okay.
can talk about Fleabag some more at the
Yeah.
end.
Um, this week's topic, we're going to talk about festivals, and we're talking about music festivals, but festival experiences that both Beth and I have had, so not just those. Kind of our feelings on them, how they impacted us, our thoughts on doing more in the future. Hint, we almost certainly will, I would say. Um, so like I had written down festival memories as our title for today, but
Mhm.
I'm up for other suggestions. Um, so say what spurred this off and with me talking about it at the start of or why I suggested this to Beth was that I was just at a festival over the past weekend, still
What
recovering
was
from it.
it?
It was called If You Know, You Know, and
So I
it
don't,
no,
obviously. So I
okay,
already feel
no.
like shit. Way to go, Andy.
It was very small scale. I mean, I think there was maybe 400 or 500 people there, so it was quite a small, sort of intimate thing on this like piece of ground. So essentially, even to be able to buy tickets, you have to have an invite link. And I kind of know somebody who my one of my good friends, her husband is one of the guys who runs it, and
Cool.
it's just really lovely. And I think because it's a bit more curated in terms of the people that are there, the vibes are pretty freaking good. It's nothing too hectic. You tend to meet really lovely people. I ended up getting chatting to a handful of different folks, and it was really lovely. I had a guy freestyle rap to me for about 3 solid minutes, I think. And
That's
I
pretty
loved
cool.
it genuinely. He was just like giving it stacks and like, he was obviously off his face on whatever, but like I really appreciated that. Like I was like, if you've got something, give it to me. I'm ready for it, and it was really lovely.
Hmm.
But it was just a really fantastic experience. I've went to it over the past 3 years. It's only been running 3 years, and to see it progress as time has went on, and to kind of be part of that as time has gone on has felt really kind of special. This year, on my way down to it, I was just like, I don't know if I have the energy for this. I don't know if I am in the headspace for this. But by I'd say like 7:30 on the Friday night, I was so happy to be there. And I said to my friend, and like she was in the same sort of place, and she was like, thrilled, we're thrilled we're here, we're gonna have a great time. And we did. So it was fantastic.
It's great. It's so what do you like what constitutes a festival?
It's a good
Like, does it
question.
have to have music?
I don't think so. Like I think that, I think and that's an interesting one because it's something I was thinking about because like I've definitely been to one day events that have festivals, that
Hmm.
I would call festivals rather. I think I have been, I think they should have some sort of centerpiece. If that's music, and I think that's the most common thing, then that's fine.
Hmm.
But I think there's some sort of entertainment, at least anyway, would be my
Yeah.
concept of it.
Yeah. I think it for me, it's like it can be a day or multiple days. And I think like there has to be like more than one activity. It's like you go see a concert
Yeah.
or a show, like that's it. But like if you have like multiple stages and like things happening all day, like
Yes.
then that is a festival to me, I guess.
Like the interesting one for me, and I had written it down when we were thinking about it, and I think we can talk, about our more typical festival experiences as we go on
Hmm.
here. But whenever
Yeah.
yeah,
Typical.
typical, I know, yeah, is I went to a Formula One race in Melbourne when I was in
I'm
Australia.
so sorry. Every time I have Formula from Talladega
Mm.
Nights. Formula
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, I forgot about that. Now I'm not. I don't really care about Formula One. I don't really care about motorsports really at all. They're fine. They're like whatever. It's just not a ton of interest in me. But the Who were playing afterwards, and
Oh, cool.
I really wanted to see the Who, and they were fantastic.
I've seen
Uh,
The Who.
yeah,
Did we talk about this?
I don't think we have.
Yeah. When did you? Yeah, it
So
doesn't
that
matter,
I would have
but
seen them in Australia. So that would have been, geez, about 15 years ago now. God,
same.
that's scary. And
No,
I
mine
think
was
about,
probably more like 20.
oh really?
Yeah.
I think about this. I wonder whether this counts as being a festival because I find that the whole experience of that day of watching the race was quite like a festival because there was just people milling about. There was beer for sale. There wasn't like bands playing, but the cars were there and people were like watching them. But we were just like milling about, chatting to people. And it was always one of the, and then obviously we saw like a big band at the end of the evening, but it was just such a it just I really hadn't anticipated it feeling like a festival, and it really was.
Hmm.
Do you think that counts?
Had you been to like a race like that before?
No.
I've only been to one NASCAR race for like 30 minutes, and it was the best 30 minutes of my
Oh,
life.
really?
Yeah, I love it. I like maybe it's the southern human being, white human being in me, but like I totally dig like, you know, free cigarette cartons
Yeah.
and free beer and like the track and then people camping like in the middle of the track and all of that. So we saw a NASCAR race in Las Vegas.
Nice.
Yeah, but we showed up hungover and super late. And it's like an hour out of the city.
Oh, really?
So it was like, yeah, it's farther out than we expected, blah, blah, blah. But it's just like the bank of the track. And I know it's different in Formula, but
Mm.
sorry.
You're gonna get our European
I
fans
know, I
furious,
know.
Beth. Hope you're
Sorry,
happy.
everybody. Forgive me. I haven't slept. But yeah, I think it's like if there's more than like one thing going on, then it can count,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
if you have children, because
Yeah.
like we're just doing the best we can.
No, I love it.
Hmm.
So
What was your first festival?
I have been thinking about this in terms of because like I have a few one day events here and there, and I don't think I'm
Hmm.
really like some of those were kind of like one dayers where it was one stage and it was just one big arena, and I think we saw like a few different bands. I don't think I really want to count those, but I think my first kind of proper festival experience was a festival that ran in the south of Ireland called Witness.
Hmm.
And it was, quite definitely more mainstream, but there would have been a ton of I was trying to rack my brains about a single band I saw there, and I really couldn't tell you. Like I think that might have been back at the time when like Green Day maybe played. I think I saw Snoop Dogg there. I
Oh,
can't remember exactly. It's hard for me to like split these festivals apart and
yep.
remember who was doing
I
who,
totally get it.
you
I
know.
totally get it. Yes.
But those would be the sort of bands that would have been playing, and my and it was like first proper festival experience in like this massive field that was just crammed filled with tents, and this was at a time when the guys that I was with, we were all still in university or had just left university, so early 20s late teens. That's the groups we were kind of milling around with, so it was like pure chaos. It was like people pissing everywhere, things getting trashed. It wasn't bad, as in like I didn't see like I could see a lot of trouble, but my like abiding memory is that we were prepped for all weather, and one of the days it rained quite heavily, and so I ended up wearing my like Wellington boots, wellies,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and I had like combats tucked into these, and I walked past, and somebody called me a country cunt. and I still have such a clear memory being called a country cunt. So my favorite insult ever. It just made me laugh so much. So yeah, it's so funny that I can't remember bands, but I can remember an insult that I was given.
Yeah, same. I remember like what road I was on, how old I was, and I was in my car, and I had a like a beer bottle brown Volvo from like
Ooh, nice.
1970. It was the 1979 brown
Hell
Volvo.
yeah.
And I like it was this just this, and it was like my first real car that was my
Hmm.
own, and I paid like $1,000 for it. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all the way. So I got like the Visualize World Peace sticker,
Nice.
like, any hippie sticker you could think of. I stuck it on the back because like,
Love it.
what else are you going to do with that car? At least in the US. And I was like 19 driving on this road, and this car just like pulls up next to me, and they look at me and they're like, hippie bitch,
Wow.
and drove away. And I was like,
I've made
little
it.
do you know, like I'm in on the joke, but whatever.
Yeah. Amazing.
So
So good.
yeah, yeah.
What was your first festival experience then?
So actually mine was pretty like, when you think of festival, so mine was it's called the Oregon Country Fair.
Oh,
Have you heard of this? Have you-
so is it the same as a state fair or is it something completely different?
No, so
Okay.
this is totally different. It's
Okay.
basically like, so I had to look this up a little bit because I went to it when I was, I think, 19, so this would have been like
Okay.
1998.
Hmm.
Or was it 18, 19, 18? I don't remember. It was 1998, whatever.
Hmm.
And I was an age.
Hmm.
So it started in 1969, and the Grateful Dead were the headliners. So
Okay.
it's basically like, it's gotten, and we can talk about this, like when is the best time to actually go to a festival?
Hmm.
Because I like to go before it's hit social media.
Yeah.
And then I think when social media like gets involved, then it becomes this other thing that totally like ruins it.
Yeah.
So I love that you just went to a festival that you had to like have a special like way in
Yes.
to,
Oh,
right? And it
yes.
wasn't like, because even like regional festivals that we have here that, are like shoot offs of other festivals, like that's
Hmm.
what's happening. The festival itself is so big that like you have to do regional events in your area, and those are selling out too. So I got to go to the Oregon Country Fair before it was like completely like insane. I think like 35,000 people go through this space over like 2 to 3 days. If you're super cool, you can camp at night, and they have this like, it's a culture, it's a whole culture.
Hmm.
So Ken Kesey is from this area. It's called Eugene, Oregon. Ken Kesey wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's
Yeah.
Nest, among other books. So they have like stages named, like there's the Kesey stage, and
Nice.
like, so it's like in this forest, it's like people build little tree houses that they like sell their goods out of, and you're walking on paths, and it's huge. It's like a huge piece of
That's just cool.
property. It's so cool. I like was wearing like elven horns, and
I
like it's
love it.
kind of Renaissance fairy a little
Oh,
bit.
wow, even
And like
better.
yeah, so you have to like buy food, but everyone's dressed up like um I remember someone was dressed up like an Ent from
Okay.
Lord of the Rings, right? Like walking around on stilts, and like there's
Amazing.
a stilt walker parade, and it's definitely like it's a hippie festival.
I love it. Uh,
Yeah, and then like people go to that and then go to like to the Rainbow Gathering.
is it is it ongoing? Is it still
Yeah,
happening these days? Okay.
it's still happening these days.
Love it. Sounds rad.
Um, you in order to like, it's like and it's like if you get to work a booth there, then you get to camp. And
Yeah,
like working a booth there, like you have to know people. So it's definitely like it's much bigger than it used to be.
sure.
Um, and it's like it's cool enough that you have to know people in order to like have the real experience.
Yeah, yep, yep, yep.
But I think you would dig it.
Yeah, it sounds great. I think like it's something like, when I was kind of putting these together that like occurred to me that I haven't really been in many outside of Ireland even. I don't think I've even done it in the UK or in the mainland England.
Yeah, that was my question, was like, what is like a festival in Ireland like? Because I mean, I got to go to the jazz festival, but that was
Yeah,
different. Like
yeah.
that wasn't like camping in your car.
Yes, yes. Much more kind of city based.
Yeah,
Yeah. Next thing a nice Airbnb and things like that
right,
with a tennis
right.
court.
Uh,
Yeah.
we were
Very
we were roughing it.
very boozy festival. Yeah. Can you believe it? Only one tennis court? Unbelievable.
I know, I know.
Um, so I think that no, I mean, like any country, I mean, like, we're relatively small, but we still have a fairly wide range of festivals.
You seem to have one like every weekend.
Yeah, there are a lot actually. I like, there's stuff that I wouldn't even hear about. I've got friends who are good, and I kind of, I'm grateful to them for this. Who are kind of keep plugged in because, like, sadly, social media is a good way to find out about all of this stuff. So,
Yeah,
like, they can keep
totally.
me informed because I don't want to do that. But
You're like,
don't make me freaking check social media and
you're
think
such a mooch.
I am 100%. This is why this
Minnie the
is. Yeah,
moocher.
yeah, yeah. You know it. I don't friggin' want to go through that friggin' nightmare just to find out things that I want to do. So it's, they run the gamut, and there's some like really commercial, really kind of stuff that like I wouldn't necessarily want to go to because they'd probably be too big and too crazy. What's interesting is the one that I really loved in this country, and it was down south, was a festival called Electric Picnic.
Mm.
When Electric Picnic started, it was really cool. Like it wasn't even camping the first year, and then they only started camping the following years, and I think I went 5 years in a row, and like even by the end of the fifth year, it really wasn't quite the same. It was starting to get, and now it's like super mainstream, filled with bands that I am not super interested in. Like as these things get more mainstream, they become more dancey a lot of the time in the UK
Yep.
and Ireland. So
I
it's very
think
much,
that's just like a general trend.
yeah,
It's just like, all right, well, we can sell more tickets if we throw
yes,
a DJ up there.
yep. So
No
like
offense to DJs
no, and I
or
mean like,
like makers.
I mean the vast majority of what I listened to at the festival I was just at was dancey stuff, and it was great. I loved it. But there was but yeah, so like I as I say, there are, so I think there I have found, but I have nothing else to compare it with, the crowds to be pretty friendly, the situations to be cool. Like one of my favorite experiences, and I think I may have told you about this before, and I think this is such a Irish experience, is that I saw James Brown at Electric Picnic, and it was about the year before he died. And he played in a relatively small tent, and I think they realized pretty quickly, why did we not put him in the main stage? Because the crowd was
I was gonna say
fucking
that's an event planner
massive,
error.
right?
Yeah.
So stupid. And like I just got in and like I crammed into the back and saw him, and I was so glad that I did because it was a fantastic experience. But as we were watching him, a guy, so like a lot of the times, this is a very common thing in this country. It's like farm owned land. Obviously, Glastonbury famously,
Okay.
it's farm owned land.
I didn't
Uh,
know that, but so is Woodstock.
yes. Oh, really?
Hmm.
Interesting. That makes a ton
Hmm.
of sense. But like, so a guy, I guess, who lived in the area, he stopped by on his horse, and the horse's head and him like ducked in the tent so they could like see. They could see James Brown, and I was like, "This is it. This is an Irish festival right here."
It's just like that's a moment that will never happen again,
Yeah,
right?
and that's
Yeah.
something that will always stay with me as well. That memory of that.
Hmm. So, okay. It's interesting. It's like I don't know. I think festivals are just generally like at least in the States, they're hot right now. Like
Yeah,
people's summer plans or their plans revolve around the festival. They call it the festival season.
yeah,
And so like it starts with probably Coachella and then it probably ends with like Burning Man or like,
yeah,
going up to the gorge in up in Washington for like Dave Matthews or whatever.
yeah,
Um so it's really hard like it used to be much easier to experience
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
festival and like I'm trying to remember, I'm embarrassed to say I don't think I've actually like been to a festival
Hmm.
in like 8 years.
Okay. I mean,
Like
that
a
happens.
real one.
Like Oh, you have kids. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a very good reason to not do festivals, you know?
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
the last one we did was taking Harper to Burning Man. And
yeah, of course.
I was just looking through some of the pictures and I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking?
I know. I remember you telling me you sent
But
me some
they're
of those pictures. And I'm like, I
hilarious.
know they
They're
are
hilarious.
great.
It's like she's literally like little baby like ringing the Virgin bell.
I to me that like I think a lot of people also kind of have the feeling that they age out of festivals eventually. Like that once they had part in their lives, a point in their lives, they will just not do them anymore. And like
Hmm.
I kind of understand that, but I feel like that is also the same line of thinking that makes people buy like package holidays and things like that, which is just not anything I really want to do or not anything I
Yeah.
really want to experience. They want like a very heavily curated experience. I think a lot of people really get lost in the idea of having to like camp for a couple of days or whatever and go, oh, what a nightmare that would be.
Hmm.
I think I'm sure, it's obviously massively dependent from festival to festival, but like in the right sort of place, like, because say where we were in Ireland, it's not that warm, it's like it's
Hmm.
fine to camp, it's actually pretty it's a pretty we had like a nice couple of days. We had a wee bit of rain, but like by and large it was fine. And like I kind of like waking up and going, oh, nice out at the festival. I get to
Yeah.
do fun stuff. I'm still in that environment. Do you know what I mean? And I'm in that sort of like warm embrace that and I understand that's once again, just my experience in terms of how I feel about festivals is I just love being in that sort of space for a few days.
Do you like, I wonder if festivals appeal to people because like of where we, like where we've come from, like our ancestors would be living in a little town together,
Yeah.
or even before that, like you're all just kind of living together. And so it's like that idea of constant community, like you walk out your tent door and town is there,
Yeah,
right?
it's true. Hmm.
And I wonder if that's what's so nice is that we're like hearkening back to, older times where community was all around us all the time.
So true. And it maybe speaks to other people who have become more isolated, maybe by choice or by design, who don't want those sorts of things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I would say, I mean that I'm sorry, I'm gonna talk about Burning Man a lot. And I've
No,
been to
yeah.
other festivals. It's just kind of like
What's your keystone?
it's kind of, well, it's yeah, and I think but I think it's also the keystone for a lot of other festivals and events now.
Yeah.
Um and I think that like how how long do you think Glastonbury's been going on for?
I think 70s, I want to say, maybe.
Yeah.
So late 70s, maybe, but I'm not sure honestly. So what, 50 to 60 years?
Yeah, so what I'm noticing, because I'm a, you know me and liking to know where things originate. So like Oregon Country Fair started in 1969,
Hmm.
Woodstock was in the 60s,
Hmm.
Glastonbury was in the 60s. There's a festival that I went to up in Seattle called Bumbershoot.
Oh, I've heard of it,
That
actually,
started
yeah.
like in the early 70s. So it's almost like that time in our history created, it's like it's all about the hippie bitches, man.
Yeah.
Uh, visualize world peace. But it's almost like those events they created, like that was the map, right?
Yeah.
And other people have grabbed that and have drawn their own, but I think that that's kind of where these things originated, which is super fucking cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I
It's
always say like I should have been born to like in the 60s and I should have gone to Woodstock.
yeah.
That's the event that I missed.
It was because it's only happened a handful of times, and like infamously one of the recent-ish ones, well, like 20 years ago, it's not that recent,
Oh, it was
was
so
kind
bad.
of catastrophic. Yeah,
It was
yeah.
so bad. Did you watch the documentary?
Uh, I don't think I have, but I kind of was aware of it at the time because I remember the whole like Limp Bizkit shit and all that sort of stuff, and then causing fucking, and I mean like
Okay.
such a different vibe than
Like so different.
Wild.
That's such an understatement. It was so bad. they literally like they marred the memory.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
100%. It's stomped
Uh-huh.
all over it. It's which is such an insane. But I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't understand the thinking of, right, okay, we're putting together a glass or a not Glastonbury, sorry, a Woodstock Revival Festival. Let's hire Limp Bizkit, right?
Yeah. Well, let's have it not at the Woodstock field,
Yeah,
but let's have it like they rented like an old like airplane hangar, set of airplane
interesting.
hangars. So it was like hot. You should watch it. Anyone
I should
and
watch that. Yeah.
anyone and Andy should watch the
Okay.
documentary
Okay.
on whatever because it's just like the it just I was an event planner for I don't know 20 years and
Hmm.
it just kind of highlights like you assume that people know what they're doing when they are planning an event and like they really don't. And like
Oh
these
yeah.
people that planned like Woodstock was a happy accident, I think.
Yeah.
Like half the people at that event didn't even have a ticket. They were just like let them in, you know.
I and it's funny because like I am I obviously a very, very different set of circumstances, but I am currently trying to organize the choir's AGM
Hmm.
and social
What's
event.
that?
So
What's
AGM is
AGM?
annual general meeting, which
Oh, okay.
whenever we put together our charter for the choir, that was one of the required things. So we're doing our first one next Wednesday. And I have to do like a report for the AGM, and I'm like, I don't fucking know how to do this. I have no idea. So I'm just making it up as I go along. So I'm just kind of like, I'm just the one of the amazing sort of
And
the
everyone's like, Andy's got it under
yeah,
control.
100%. Like if only people knew how completely insane I was. But like I heard a great thing about writing, which was the first pass is the vomit pass, where you're just vomiting words onto a page. So that's what I've done. I've done a vomit pass, which is just a very basic structure, kind of going through the things I want to say, and I'm just going to tidy that up and whatever. Honestly, if there's criticisms, tough shit. It's going to be somebody else's problem this year or
Yeah.
next year. Sorry, probably. So we'll see how it goes. You know.
As long as no one's, you know, you're not building structures and like lighting them on
No, no,
fire.
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no. No. That that I am getting a
Booking
great.
Limp Bizkit.
I am getting a Grateful Dead cover band in though.
Dark Star Orchestra.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um.
um, go ahead.
No, I was just so was going to ask a little bit about sort of because we talked earlier on about like this idea of a quintessential Irish festival experience. Do you have
Mhm.
thoughts on that in terms of an American, or do you think that that's a fair question? About American festival experience.
It's funny, just like I think Americans think that the quintessential Irish, like we all saw Wicker Man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what we assume you do.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even mention that because I would take it for granted. Everybody knows we do Wicker Man and all of our festivals,
Right,
of course.
right.
Are you kidding me? I mean, come on. Ask a silly question, guys.
Right, right. I think probably like I'm guessing people think of the quintessential festival would be Coachella,
Yeah. I, hasn't it become
which
like a
is
complete
literally
nightmare
like
now?
it's like 3 hours from where I live.
No, interesting.
And yeah, well, I think what's happening, they it's like what's happening is there isn't enough substance,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
including the audience. So
Yes.
everyone's an influencer
Yeah.
and they're just there to take their
Fuck.
pictures and no one's going to the stages to listen. So I think what happened this year is that there's a shift where whoever's on stage doesn't really matter. What matters is what photos people are taking. And so bands aren't wanting to play because
Yes.
no one's going to go to their shows.
Because I think I heard a clip of Damon Albarn from Blur specifically
Yep.
this year, just on
Yep.
stage going, I'm not coming back. This has been shit." And it's like
Yeah.
it's so true. And what a
Yeah.
fucking shit, awful place to get into for that festival.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know.
Yeah. And like people aren't like they're like facing the opposite direction. Like they're just like taking selfies of them at a show, not actually like participating or
Enjoying it.
watching the
Yeah.
performer. Yeah. So I saw the Blur quote too, and I was like, ooh. And so it's interesting because Burning Man, which is not is on my shit list right now,
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't give you your ticket. But
Yeah.
so we should be there right now, but we're not.
Yeah. In a parallel universe, Beth and
We
Andy
would
are at
we
Burning
would
Man
be
right
not
now.
recording, right? We would
No.
be taking
Uh,
Instagram selfies at Burning Man.
yeah. We'll be going Insta live.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. But yeah, that event is happening, and it's this is the first year since I think it's like since 2011 it didn't sell out, which is
Ooh.
crazy. Like because ticket day, I was like insane. Andy knows this. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew, like, if you want to get on, and like we had like three computers going,
Yeah.
and like it's a whole thing. And we got tickets, and it was crazy. Um, and then, but what's happened, because like once Instagram picked up, I the best year was my first year, was 2007. It was so great. The man burned twice. It was epic. Like it was just
Nice.
like this really, and it was, but normally they like have a perimeter, and there was an arsonist that burned the man.
Oh, you told me about this.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, and they didn't have a backup man, so they had to build the man the whole week, and like they weren't sure if they were gonna, like, if he was gonna have a head or not. It was a whole thing, but they did. Now they build a backup man every year, just in case someone lights it on fire early. So it's just like it was so chaotic, and it was so dangerous. It was so
Mm-hmm.
great. And like there's
Yeah.
all this big earth that you climb on, and it's all on fire, and you're like, I might fall off and die. Woo, good thing I'm wasted.
The perfect
So
the perfect fix for
yeah,
the situation. Yeah.
pretty much is just to be drunk the whole week. So but yeah, okay, so they didn't sell out. So Coachella's shitting the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Burning Man is freaking out because like they they actively say they're not a music festival.
Yes.
And this is the first year they were like, okay, DJs and sound camps, you can release your lineup early. And
Ooh.
like, but it's a big deal because they've talked about shutting camps down, kicking them out, not letting them come back the next year, over releasing their DJ lineup.
No way.
Yeah, and like they get big DJs like
Yeah. So
Tiesto,
I've heard.
all of the, like Diplo, if I'm saying
Yep.
his name right.
Yeah.
Chris Rock isn't a DJ, but he was escaping with Diplo on
I've heard about this.
the
Yeah.
bed of the truck last year. So it's interesting to me that like, yeah, like these, I think maybe like we've hit the pinnacle, and we're heading back down where things might be a little bit more accessible.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, it's good stuff.
I know, right?
That's exactly where I want them to
I
be.
know. And like
Yeah.
not assuming that they're gonna be able to sell 75,000
Yeah.
tickets.
Okay.
Fuckers.
That's good. I know. That's wild. It's like I would hope that's maybe a start in sort of the trend of them being used for like clout or for like, social media stuff coming to an end. Maybe not. Obviously, it never will. And it's so funny you mention it because it's like I had a conversation with a friend at the festival this weekend, and I noticed it at the festival that I was at and she was talking about going to a gig, and for the first time in a long time, watching the gig, and she looked around and she didn't see a single phone up recording it, and it was like,
Wow.
it was incredible, and it's like such a shame that that is such a remarkable thing, but here we are,
Yeah. Here we
know,
are. It used to be lighters, and now people hold their phones up. And I'm
yeah,
like, that's just like, I get it.
hmm
It still grosses me out.
yeah,
Like, you should have a lighter. Even
yes,
if you
it's
don't
true.
smoke, I don't care.
Yeah,
Even if it's not allowed in the venue, I don't
yeah,
care.
yeah. Just have it anyway. Smuggle it in somehow.
Uh,
Yeah, it's um, I don't know. To me, and I mean, I understand why people don't like festivals, but like connection is so
I
key.
was just gonna say, what do you love about festivals?
Oh, it's the
Tell me what you love. Yeah.
connection to like I mean, I struggle to I guess be out of work mode or be out of like, I'm always on. I feel like I'm always kind of like, yeah, even though
I
I
would
leave my,
agree with that.
even
Like
though
after following you around for a week, you're always on.
I am, I even like,
You're just busy.
I leave my phone silent not because I'm not on, but that's something I can't control to an extent, and I need to, or I'm going to lose my mind. And when I'm at a festival, I'm not on. I'm just relaxing and I'm having fun and I'm in that
Mhm.
space. And I really barely like. If you think I don't look at my phone most of the time, oh boy, when
Yeah.
there's a festival on, it's like it doesn't exist. I'll maybe check it twice a day. I sometimes have like nice ideas when I'm there that I will text friends about. You know, those sorts of things. Like I had a plan I wanted to do with a friend, like a kind of a monthly meetup thing. You know, just you just have nice sort of ideas about your life there because it's a more fertile space for that way of thinking, I think.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it is just that. I just kind of love being in that space, being like consumed by that space for like a few days, and I don't know, just being wrapped up in the lovely arms of that festival experience.
Hmm.
What about you?
I think, I mean, very similar reasons. I love like the thing, okay, sorry everyone, Burning Man. It's just like once it's this, it's like you gotta go at least once. You
Yeah.
just gotta go at least once, and then you'll understand why it's so hard to, it's the biggest party in the fucking world,
Yes.
right? But they don't allow any, like, you're not allowed to sell anything. You know, you got to
Yes.
bring everything in. It's all about survival. So it's like I love that I have to, that I've gotten really good at like surviving in the
Yeah.
desert. Um and like surviving and like, having shelter that doesn't blow over in the wind, and like
Yeah.
these things matter, like, shelter for rain, and like just dealing with the elements, and knowing that I can do that. Like if the apocalypse happens, like I'd be able to,
Yeah.
I'd be okay. I could be okay. I can poop in a bucket, it's fine. Um Michael empty it.
Yeah.
But
Good Mike.
like I love that no one uses their real names.
Yes.
So like Mike's Burning Man name is Diablo, my Burning Man name is Seven.
Hmm.
So you automatically don't talk about where you work. Like
Oh,
you put on this whole other self, which
uh-huh.
I think is like you put on yourself. So you use another name, you don't, so by using another name, you automatically aren't, dominated by what you do, who your family
Yeah.
is. So when you meet someone, you're not like, where are you from? You're like, where you camped? Who are you camping with? What's, like, what have you seen? It's like an exchange. And there's no internet out there really. So it's all word of mouth and the rumor mill's going. And like, it's just this fascinating experience where you
Yeah.
can drop into anyone's camp and sit down and have a 3 hour conversation about the meaning of life.
Yeah, he's like
You know,
that's exactly
it's
this sort of
so
shit.
great.
Yeah, I mean,
It's so
this
great.
I have to go some year because like I think you know I would just love to get into that with people, and I also really kind of love there's a limit to this, of course, but I really kind of love hearing people passionately talk about whatever. Do you know what I mean? I like
Mhm.
even to a limited extent that festival I was at, there was a guy speaking. What was he talking to us about? Oh, he was talking about you know the cordyceps. You know when Last of Us. The it's about that cordyceps infection that infects creatures.
Yes.
I mean, it already exists in this world, and how it affects ants and things like that. But like, it's about if it was to advance enough to, you know, to infect humans. And he was talking about that, and he was talking about the realities of that and what he'd investigated in it. And I was like, so interesting. You know, this is so kind of fascinating. I knew some stuff about it, and I have definitely done a wee bit of research myself. But like he really was kind of really well versed on it and kind of passionate about it. And I'm like, how fascinating. Do you know what I mean? What a kind of cool sort of thing to talk about.
I think you just hit a nail like on the head, because people that seek out a festival experience,
Yeah.
they're seekers, right?
Yeah.
They're passionate about having an experience and learning about things. And so like I've said a lot of times, maybe not to you, but that like the most interesting people you'll meet are at festivals,
Yeah.
because they're just, it's that type of person that isn't
And
going to stay home, and you know they've got their hands in like 9,000 different things, and they're
yeah,
just interesting. It's like,
absolutely.
I remember I have a friend that did some research down in Antarctica, and was like all of the people there are interesting. You don't go to end up in Antarctica and
Oh,
not have an
that,
interesting story
yeah.
or life, right?
Yeah, why? Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I think it's just like a tiny like snapshot into that, which I love.
Yeah, that's a good way. That's a good way of putting it. I like putting it. I really like that. Yeah.
Except for Andy, who's
Yeah, I'm
there.
boring as fuck. But I think that like, and that kind of speaks to like both of us. I think we are both kind of seekers. We are both kind of looking for stuff. We're looking for
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, like I know I'm not gonna speak for you, but like, I'm kind of looking for answers to a little bit because like the world kind
Yes.
of scares and confuses me. So like,
Yes. I want reassurance that like humans
yes,
are good.
yes, yes. And like, absolutely you see some bad examples of humans at
Mhm.
festivals, but I have met
Mhm.
it kind of makes me feel better about the world, makes me feel better about my place in the world to an extent,
Mhm.
I sometimes lose that whenever I leave the festival, but at the time when I'm there, it's very helpful for me.
Yeah. I also think like spending that quality time, like if you go with other people,
Yes.
it really allows you to chill and connect and like without all of the, no one's leaving, no one's looking at phones,
Yeah.
people are, engaged in conversations or they're napping, and you're worried
Yeah.
about their nap schedule and making sure that everyone's getting enough sleep and
Yeah.
like, did you eat? And like, it's just like, it's a nice experience of friends like helping each other have a good experience and taking care of
Absolutely.
each other and like laughing your asses off.
I And it's just what was great about this festival that I was at particular was that it's also like a kind of wellness festival. So there was like a forest meditation, there was some yoga, there was a drum circle, which is something
Mm.
I have always kind of
Did
wanted
you
to
do
like.
it?
Yes, I did. I loved it.
Isn't it fun?
It's so much fun. And just, doing engaging with those things and like the connections that brings. I ended up like talking to this girl that was beside me, and we had like a lovely chat about like how we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We were trying our best, and we were like complimenting. We kind of flares each other were doing. It was just such a nice kind of bonding experience with somebody that I had never talked to previously until that moment. Like I think I love those things generally in life anyway. Those sorts of experiences that kind of push me out of my comfort zone. But there's just such a it's just such a fertile ground for finding those things at festivals, I think.
Totally. So what are some festivals that you've never been to that you want to go
Oh,
to?
that's a good
Oh,
question. I don't
I know.
there was a series of festivals in the UK called All Tomorrow's Parties that used to be curated by bands. So like Faith No More would
Cool.
program all the bands and they still happen. And I've always kind of wanted to go to one. Like I think I'm trying to remember which one. Me and one of my Scottish friends were almost going to go one year. What they often do is they book out holiday camps. We have holiday camps in this country where they're like people go to them and they are like your whole holiday is here. So there'll be like a water area, all sorts of different things. So there's
Mhm.
accommodation and all sorts of stuff. So I've always kind of wanted to go to one of those. But like honestly, then it's like I do. I've always wanted to go to Glastonbury. I obviously Burning Man is on my map now. I think that's going to happen. Glastonbury, talking to friends who've done it, one of my good friends has done it recently, and her experience was amazing. I've done it 2 years in a row, but she's like, it's a lot because there's like 200,000 people at Glastonbury,
Mhm.
and it's mental. Like, trying to
Yeah.
get from it's hours and hours from your car to the campsite. It's then whenever you want to in the morning, go from your campsite to the
You
festival
gotta
ground.
like
Yeah.
be ready to go for the whole
You have to be
time.
very fit. You're like doing 30, 40,000 steps a day. It's
Holy
like,
shit.
yeah, it's no joke. So like I I it may happen. I don't think it's quite as high on my list just in terms of recent conversations as it used to be, but I think I would love to actually to see it someday.
Mhm. I would say it's definitely because I would say I heard of Glastonbury before I heard of Burning Man,
Oh, uh-huh.
for sure. And I think I would like to go to Glastonbury like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
And I'm noticing that's a pattern with me. It's like I want to go to Woodstock. I want
20
to
years
go
ago.
to I actually want to go to EDC in Las Vegas because I love electronic music.
Yeah,
And spectacle and like all of I love experiencing big things
I hear
like
you.
that.
Me too.
And then there's a jazz festival in New Orleans called the New Orleans Jazz Festival. And I've heard from many, and I actually just like Googled festivals and like it came up in the top 10 and it's supposed to be fabulous.
Okay.
And it's in New Orleans.
I mean,
So
like, sign me up for all of this. You know me,
I
I'm down
know,
for
I
whatever,
know,
as you know.
I know.
Um, so like, any other thoughts before we maybe start wrapping this up?
What festival do you not want to go to?
Coachella.
Same!
Yeah, woo! Fuck
And I wrote down Burning
Coachella.
Man, but I
Yeah,
love hate Burning Man
yeah, yeah,
always.
yeah.
So
Yeah, fuck
uh
Coachella is
but
the
Coachella. I think we might not be in the minority on that.
Yeah, I think it sounds like it these days. It sounds like there's a real the fucking worm
Yeah.
has turned for
Hmm.
Coachella. Like, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, love it. Okay. So as I always kind of ask in these episodes, folks, we'd love to hear your festival experiences. I know there are
Hmm.
people who will be listening to this episode who've like been to some of these festival experiences with me, so I'm sure you'll correct me, let me know. Like in a conversation that whenever Beth was over visiting me, we spent time with a friend of mine, and I would have sworn blind that I had never seen Toots and the Maytals in my life. And he goes, "You did see them at one of these festivals." It's like, oh yeah. And then when I really kind of like started going into my brain, I was like, oh, I did. I remember that now. So yeah, fun. Uh, oh, brands. But yeah. But
Trying
as
to, yeah. I think I told you yeah, we talked about Toots. I think I was drunk when we were talking to your friend
yeah,
about
it's fine.
Toots. Yeah.
That's the quintessential Irish experience.
True, true.
But yeah, so to say, any thoughts you have on festivals, folks, please let us know. So getting to the end of our podcast and getting to our favorite question, Beth, what's been bringing you joy this week?
The show Normal People.
Okay. I know that
Have you
name, but I
seen
haven't
it?
watched
Oh
it.
my
No.
God. I'm
Okay.
obsessed. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. So it came out in 2020, like during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so they didn't really like they didn't things we were focused on other things, but like a certain part of the population actually watched this and like became obsessed with the characters. But
Yes.
it's based on a book. I think her name is Sarah Rooney.
Mm-hmm.
Someone correct me. And it is so fucking good. I've watched it twice. Mike was gone for a week and I was like, it was like I had to stop. Normally I watch a show and I'm doing like three other things. I literally had to shut down everything because the characters are so good, the acting is so good that if you miss like the way someone like turns their eye, like you're missing something.
Okay.
Um, it's the sweetest story. It's hard to watch. Like it's like all the things. And it made me feel a little bit alive. And it made me love like art and life and
Okay.
humanity. And I bought the book and now I'm reading the book as I'm rewatching the show. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like trying to like do read the book a little bit faster than I'm watching it, but I can't even. They have not done season two because she hasn't written another book.
Okay.
But it like launched. I don't know if you know who Paul Mescal
Mescal, I
is.
do, I do, I do.
So it's Mescal. You should know this. You're
Oh,
Irish.
oh dear. Uh-oh.
I
No,
know.
I'm for these purposes, I am yeah, Northern Irish.
Yes, true. Right. So that's that's basically like what launched his acting, like his
Okay.
movie career,
Mm-hmm.
movie career. And he's gonna be in Gladiator 2.
Yes.
He's done some other stuff. There's a movie with Andrew Scott, my other
Oh,
um
All of Us Strangers?
so good. Have you seen it?
No, I came in into it. I was going to see it in the movies.
Do
I didn't get around to it. Okay.
do
Yeah.
do. I watched it on the airplane. It's so good. And that's
Okay.
why I was like, I went down this wormhole because I was like, Andrew Scott, so like the movie with and it's the two of them. The it's Paul Mescal and Andrew Scott. They're the lead characters. And it's like I went down the wormhole of like, but okay, what else have they done? And I
Okay.
found Normal People. It blew my mind away.
I have heard amazing things about it. But
Yeah.
you know what? Well, it's on iPlayer, so I will check it out. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, love
It's just it's everything.
it. Okay.
It's so
Okay.
well done. It's so well done.
Yeah, that sounds
And it's
fantastic.
like music from like 2010. So
Oh, nice. Okay. Oh God,
yeah,
perfect.
yeah, I know.
Um,
What about you? What's bringing you joy?
so I think, and I might have mentioned I watched the first one a few weeks ago, but I watched the second part of the Steve Martin documentary,
Oh,
and I don't know. I
I
mean,
love me some Steve Martin
oh, have you
with
watched
his
them?
banjo. No.
You'll love
What
them.
is it
You'll love them.
on?
It's on iPlayer. Or not
Okay.
iPlayer, sorry, what am I saying?
iTunes or
Apple
I
Player rather. So it's
okay.
whatever the Apple TV app is.
Okay.
I think it's called Apple TV.
I
Anyway,
think it is too.
yeah. And the first so it was like a documentary in two parts, and they're both like an hour and a half long, so it's a substantial thing. The first
Doesn't
half
he
is
have like a baby?
he does. So he talks about that in the second.
Yeah.
So I watched the second one. The first one was about his stand-up career. The second one was about his film career, but also how he is dealing with being older and his life and like how he was completely neurotic in a really bad place in his young life, and now he's quite happy and stable now. But he
Hmm.
essentially met his wife who he's married to now when he was 61, and they have had a kid since then, and he kind of can't quite believe that, but he's like, and they talk about how kind of unknowable he is, and he talks about like how much he kind of struggled with making connections with people, not that he was like hostile, he just didn't know how to quite close that gap. And I find that all like I was in an emotional state when I watched it. I think I just come back from the
Hmm.
festival, and I was like, and I find it always quite interesting. I think how you react to stuff depends not only on how that thing's made, but depends on the place you're coming to from it. You're coming from as well.
Yeah.
And it just hit me so hard, and was kind of quite hopeful in a way, because like sometimes get down about the future, or what life has in store for me, and kind of seeing him kind of build a family in his 60s is kind of
Hmm.
quite wild, and also really kind of inspiring, so
Hmm.
yeah, it was really quite beautiful, I thought. So it's definitely especially even if you're not a fan, I think his life is so fascinating that it was
Hmm.
such an interesting watch.
I mean, he wrote and directed LA Story, and
Yeah.
after that, I mean, I loved him on SNL, obviously, but like LA Story is one of the best movies ever made.
Hmm.
And watching that, I was like, I'm a fan for life.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I read a few quotes about like just like what it's like to have his daughter,
Yeah,
and right, it's a daughter.
it is. Hmm.
Um, and it's almost like his life started after that.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like he's really lived two lives, and he
Yeah.
he like he's so all about being a dad, and like yeah, like he
Yeah.
can't believe this has happened to him. And I was thinking that too, because I'm turning 45 this year, and I'm like, Morgan Freeman started his acting career around that age, and so
Yeah.
did Samuel L. Jackson. And so it's like, yeah, I think it's nice to have little reminders that like magic can still happen whenever we want it to,
Exactly.
or we're open to it.
Exactly. So yeah, really kind of a
I'm
beautiful.
open to magic,
Yeah, as you should
universe.
be. Yeah, good. You put it out there.
Right.
But yeah, definitely worth a watch.
That's great.
But yeah, folks. So yeah, I think we're coming to the end of our show. Beth, can you let everybody know where they can find us,
You
our
can find
community?
us at bendypodcast.com. And thank you to all the people that are randomly following us on Twitter now. Yay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I saw our Facebook follower numbers recently, and I was like, whoa, okay, this
Yeah,
is great. So thanks so much, folks.
we're doing good.
We
Yes.
really do appreciate it. So yeah, but so yeah, so as always, in that case, we'd like to remind you to
Day.
stay bendy.
I was too high. I
I don't
started
know
too
what was going on there.
high.
That was the
I don't
festival special
know.
one. All right.
Festival special. We love you
Bye,
guys.
folks. I love you. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye bye.
Good.
Excellent. I could have kept going. I like